And we begin tonight with a deep dive into U.S. cattle prices and the impact they have on your wallet and on Arkansas's ranchers. President Trump has proposed increasing beef imports from Argentina to bring prices down.
The move has raised concerns among beef producers and even lawmakers, but locals we spoke with don't think the impact will be significant. First, let's take a look at the numbers. Since 2020, beef prices have increased by over 50%. The most recent numbers we have are from September, when the average price of ground beef was $6.32 a pound.
Last year, we paid an average of $5.35 a pound. That was well above the going rates of 2021 and 2019.
So tonight we're taking a closer look at the president's proposal to bring down those beef prices and the potential impact.
We will start with the farmers and the ranchers. Channel 7's Kaylin Clay visited the Hope Cattle Auction to find out more, and she joins us now live in our studio. Kaylin.
Well, Chris and Beth, this isn't a new problem. In fact, the rise in beef prices has spanned 20 years because the supply of cattle has been shrinking, largely due to years of drought and low cattle prices. But ranchers are saying they need the high beef prices to afford their high input costs.
President Trump has proposed quadrupling beef imports from Argentina in an attempt to lower prices. The proposal, though, might not bear long-term impacts like many think.
I think it's a short-term, issue that we're having to deal with. I don't really think it affects overall the beef price and everything, or it shouldn't, because we import 12% of our beef as an industry.
And with all-time high costs of commodities and tractors, the high price of a pound of ground beef sitting at $6.32 is deemed necessary for sustainable profits. But if imports from Argentina will still only represent a sliver of total beef imports into the U.S., therefore likely making little impacts on the price of beef, what's the concern?
It was just kind of frustrating to have the spotlight put on beef when nothing else really was, and having to deal with that stigma.
The White House probably should not have said some of the things they have said, because it caused us a disaster almost.
That stigma resulted in a more than $100 immediate drop in costs per cattle since Trump proposed the imports.
Just the uncertainty and not knowing when to sell your cattle or go ahead and get rid of them. Are they going to go down more? So do we need to get rid of them now, or do we hang on to them and hope prices go back to what they were a couple of weeks ago?
And Arkansas's Congressman Bruce Westerman weighing in on the topic.
If you look at it, it's about 60,000 metric tons more, which is less than 0.5% of the U.S. consumption of beef in a year. I think long term, it's not, even if it stays in place, it's not going to be overall detrimental to the beef market, but it's causing some pain and some concerns right now.
Now, overall, beef imports are still down right now because of the 50% tariffs Trump imposed on Brazil, and also of flesh-eating pests it's limiting imports from Mexico. On your side, I'm Kaylin Clay.
Okay, Kaylin, thanks so much. Senator Tom Cotton is among those speaking out against increasing beef imports from Argentina. He stopped by the KATV studios this morning for a conversation with our Daybreak anchor, Stacey Spivey.
I think the proposal bringing more Argentine beef is ill-advised. Not only does it have a detrimental effect on the price of cattle, but also it raises some of the safety issues that you mentioned, Stacey. And it probably won't do much to bring down the price of beef at the butcher counter in your grocery store.
Of course, Senator Cotton grew up on a cattle farm in Yell County.
Well, the president says the goal of all of this is to lower prices for consumers. And as you just heard, some are skeptical that it will do that. Channel 7's Andrew Mobley spoke with the Arkansas Farm Bureau and a local butcher to get their take. He has the story. Andrew.
It's important to keep in mind that cattle and beef are two different commodities. The Arkansas Farm Bureau says increasing beef imports from Argentina will harm cattle producers more than it will lower prices for consumers, because there will be less demand for American cattle to be processed into beef, with more imported, already processed Argentinian beef on the market.
Quadrupling the amount of Argentinian beef that we're bringing into the country has the potential to have less impact on the consumer and more impact on the cattle producer. That retail price doesn't necessarily correlate directly to the producer. With that increase in imports, that's going to be at the detriment of the cattle producer.
It's cause for concern not only for Arkansas ranchers, but butchers who also have high input costs and thin profit margins.
If they're looking for $2.99 hamburger again, that's not going to happen. Right now, even our cost of the materials that I use to make My ground chuck is over $6.50 a pound, and I'm charging $7.99 a pound for a hamburger, which is no profit by the time it runs through the house. President Trump, I agree with a lot of things he says, but this is something that we don't agree with. He needs to stay out of the cattle business. He needs to listen to the farmers.